This course is presented to you free of charge by TTJ Tech Services of www.ttjtech.biz and by Stir It Up of www.stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U, not an I, so that's STURITUP.com. TTJ Tech Services and Stir It Up are pleased to offer this course to you to the glory of God and to the benefit of all those who listen. We're back, and we're going to be talking about Apple Keynote today. So welcome to this presentation. I'm very excited about Keynote. I use Keynote quite a lot on the iPad, but of course it's compatible with iCloud. So that means if I'm using it on my iPad, it also, the presentations show up on my Mac and on my iPhone and everywhere else too. And so it's going to be the same kind of thing as with Pages. Just to give you a couple of pointers before we get started, Keynote is a multimedia presentation app. We would sort of say, kind of like we loosely said that Pages is the equivalent of Word, but we think Pages offers a lot more. We'd kind of say the same thing about Keynote. It's supposed to kind of be the equivalent to Microsoft PowerPoint, but I believe it goes way above and beyond, and I think it's a very powerful app.
This is a Mac
to use.
This is a Mac presentation, right?
Right.
So don't insult Apple like that. It's not an equivalent. It does more.
Yeah,
it's more accessible.
It does.
The layout
is.
I mean, look, everybody knows that I'm an Apple fanboy, I guess, for lack of a better term. And I'm not just saying this because I like Apple products. I grew up on Microsoft. So, I go all the way back to MS-DOS, Word Perfect, stuff like that. So this is not coming from somebody who just jumped into Apple and says Apple is the greatest. I've worked with Microsoft products and the accessibility, along with the screen readers, JAWS, Window Eyes, even a little NVDA. And the bottom line is Keynote, as well as Pages and any other app that I've used on Mac, has fully exceeded the features and accessibility that Microsoft can compare to. So.
Well, that's exactly what it is, and I'm the same way. I mean, I would absolutely say that I'm an Apple fanboy, but that's because Apple has earned that. It's not that I've just decided to say, oh, I'm going to just like Apple no matter what they do. No, it's because consistently they deliver above and beyond. They push the envelope farther than anybody else is willing to. They do a better job of it, and we could go on and on. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. And so the same thing is true here. Now, when you are creating presentations, the idea behind this is you're going to create something that you could use in a business setting to present the outline of your project or your budget, or you could use it in a church for sermon notes. You could use it in school for educational purposes when you're presenting on a history project or some other kind of thing. Families maybe use it for travel plans, all sorts of things you could do with this. But what I want to make sure we point out before we get started, just like we did in our iPad class for those who took that, is the idea behind creating a multimedia presentation is not to tell the whole story on the slide. So if I'm creating a project for school, for example, and maybe I'm creating a project on a particular subject like World War II, I'm not going to put in a slide and then start writing a paragraph and say World War II took place.
Like you want to have notes to remind you of what you want to talk about in your presentation, correct?
Like bullet points, exactly. And we can do those on here, and we can do photos and video and all sorts of things on our slides. So let's go ahead. I'm already in my applications folder. There could be other ways for you to get to it. Maybe it's even on your dock, but I was already in the applications folder anyway.
Keynote application.
I was going to say mine is option K.
There you go. There you go. All right, and let's see what that's going to sound like.
What's new in Keynote? Window, continue, default button has keyboard focus.
And that if you needed a confirmation that I do it on the iPad, typically this is telling me on the Mac, which means either I've never opened it or it's been a while. And I think, anytime they release an update, they may put that in there again. You can swipe, you can control option right arrow or control option left arrow, whatever you need to do to read through this screen.
Continue.
But then there's the continue button. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit that because your what's new could be, from different versions or what have you. So VO space.
Now in open window, icon view collection.
Now, how many times can we say it? Predictable patterns, fundamentals. This is just like the document area in Pages, or I imagine even in text edit or anything where you can choose to open an existing project. And we can choose to open an existing presentation, but we're also going to find when we VO left arrow and VO right arrow an option to create a new one. And that's what we'll do.
Cancel, but open, cancel icon view collection.
There's our collection where we have existing presentations. If I interact with that, you'll find
ATV Keynote.
I might be jumping the gun a
Keynote.
little bit here, but doesn't Keynote have that same option that Pages has where you can set a default template so you don't have to choose it every time?
It probably does in the system settings, or not system settings, but in the settings for the app.
Okay.
I would imagine.
Out of icon, vertical, sidebar, tape,
so you have your
icon,
sidebar.
mission control.
Now, one of the things that I will tell you is
Finder applications, Keynote, cancel icon view.
One of the things I'll tell you is the first choice in this collection, if you interact with it, was new document or new presentation.
In icon view collection, ATV new document image.
New document.
Actions available. New document. Now in window collection.
VO space.
You are currently on a collection inside of a scroll area.
And I'm just going to pause that because we already know we're in what this is where we're going to choose a theme for our presentation. If we go to the left here.
Wide 16:9. Choose a theme. Wide 16:9. Pop-up button.
That's a pop-up button that allows us to change the aspect ratio of the themes we're going to be working with. Not going to mess with that right now. I want to interact with this collection here to the right. And I want to...
In collection, new section.
Now, just like with Pages, you have these templates or themes, in this case, organized by category. So this is the new section.
Recent section.
There's recent.
Basic section. Dynamic. Minimal section. Bold section.
Okay, look at all these different sections. Now, if I want a particular one, like let's say, for example, that I want dynamic.
Dynamic section.
We're going to probably have to interact with that because it says section. When we hear the word section, remember, we know.
In section, 0 items. Dynamic color. Dark text on light pink and coral moving backgrounds. Button. Group. Dynamic waves light. Gray text on light. Moving backgrounds. Button. Group.
And there might be more choices, but in the interest of time, we're just going to pick one. I kind of like
Dynamic color. Dark text on light pink and coral moving backgrounds. Button. Group.
So let's VO space.
Now in untitled window. Slide layout area.
Now, the
format,
first thing...
move, and resize items within the slide. You are currently on a layout area.
Okay. The first thing we hear is that we're in a layout. We're on a layout area. It's our slide, probably the slide navigator, which is where you can move between slides, or perhaps not. Perhaps it's the actual slide itself. We're going to find out in a moment by doing a little exploration. But before we can do that, I really think it's important for us to rename this document right away. Again, just like in Pages, you have a couple of different ways you can do that. You can do a Command S. You can go to the file menu. You can also go to the toolbar. And if we stop interacting here, I'll just show you around a little. Actually, we're out as far as we can go. So
vertical splitter.
We go to the left.
Slide navigator, table, row.
Okay, so that's the slide navigator right there. We're still going to the
document
left.
Actions. Dimmed menu button. Untitled.
And you see that it says untitled. Now,
document action.
Document action says it's dimmed.
7 items.
It still works. So I don't really know why they say that, but if I VO space on it, even though it's dimmed, it does bring up the pop-up menu. And here's what we have.
Untitled. Contents selected. Edit text.
We have an edit field and the contents are already selected. So I can just type, and I'm going to do Mac Keynote test.
Selection replaced. Cap M. C. Mac. Hyphen. Cap. E. Keynote. Cap. E. T. Test.
And we could just press return and be done with it. But since we're in the process of exploring, let's VO right arrow.
Tags. Tag editor. Edit text.
Just as a general review, a tag is a friendly little descriptor. If this is a project for a history class, you could put history. If you use it for church or a business or, anything that you do. And the good part about tags is it's easy to organize things by tag, because you can later come back and you can look up your tags and see what presentations and documents and spreadsheets and music and everything else files that you have that correspond to those tags. So that's the tag area.
Where? Keynote, iCloud, pop-up button.
I absolutely want to leave that alone.
You are current.
That would let me choose a different location, but of course I want to save it in Keynote in iCloud, because then it's going to be there on all of my devices. So
locked, unchecked, checkbox.
We can lock this document to prevent further changes.
Locked, unchecked.
So what I'm going to do...
Where? Tag editor, tags. Mac Keynote test, contents selected, edit text.
And press return.
Slide navigator, table, row 1 of 1, selected, Mac Keynote test, window.
Okay. The first thing we want to do is explore a little more. So let's go back to the left with VO left arrow.
Document actions, Mac Keynote test, full screen button, minimize button.
And that's going to be as far
close
to the left as we can go. Now, I would speculate that later on when we look at our view menu, that there might be things we can show that are not currently showing, like toolbars and so on. I don't really know that to be true, because as I said, I do use this on the iPad normally. I've used it on the Mac. I absolutely have, but I don't regularly and not often enough to remember that necessarily from the last time I used it. But if I wanted to check that out right now, we've taught you how to progressively explore, but let's say I want to jump ahead and I want to see, is there anything in the view menu that I could show that might be helpful? We can VOM.
Apple menu 10 system settings ellipsis.
We can
Keynote menu, file menu, edit, insert, slide, format, arrange, menu, view, menu.
There's view. Let's just see if there's anything
Show
in
tab
view.
bar. Show all tabs. Inspector, submenu.
And
check mark, navigator.
Navigator is checked.
Slide only. Light table.
Okay, let's look
check mark, inspector.
Inspector and see what that is.
Inspector, submenu, 6 items, check mark, format, animate, document. Show next inspector tab, show previous inspector tab, dimmed control shift accent.
And there are going to be some commands for that as well.
Hide inspector command option.
And I'm gonna explain what that is in a little bit. So let's not get too worried about that right now, because you may not know yet what the inspector is, but we'll get there. I'm just going to hit escape here.
Closing menu, close button.
So for right now,
you are currently on the button.
Our Keynote window is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. We go to the right and all we've
minimize, full screen, Mac Keynote test. Document actions, menu button.
Those are our document actions. And notice now it doesn't say dimmed anymore.
Slide navigator, table, row.
Let's see if there's any more document actions now that we've done that.
7 items, name, Mac Keynote tags, tag at where, Keynote locked.
Okay, that's still the same thing, so we'll hit escape. All right, we're on the slide navigator, which is the next item.
Document slide navigator, table, row 1 of 1, selected.
And it tells me that there's only row 1 of 1. This is the area that houses all of the slides in your presentation. As you know, we only have 1 right now. So if I interact with this...
In slide navigator, table, row 1 of 1, slide 1, text selected, slide 1, text. Slide 1.
And you see that we can't move anywhere else when we're inside of that, because there's only 1 slide. If we had 4 slides, we'd be able to move 3 times to the right to see 2, 3, and 4. And
no visible title to interact.
You can't interact any further. So that's all we can do right now with the slide navigator, because there's only 1 slide so far. So let's stop interacting.
Out of slide navigator, table.
And let's see what else we find if we go to the right.
Vertical splitter, slide layout area.
Okay.
Toolbar.
And then
formatter, group.
Look at all that stuff. It's not at the top of the screen. It's at the bottom. Remember, I said I suspect there's a toolbar. Well, there sure is. It's just further down. And there's the formatter. And then that is it. So I'm going to go back to the left, because the next thing we want to look at is the slide contents themselves, which is the slide layout area.
Slide layout area.
Let's interact with that.
Title, presentation title, text box layout item. Title, body, presentation subtitle, text box layout item. Text box layout item.
All right. So you've got 3 text boxes here. Now, in case you don't know, in a presentation, you're always going to use text boxes when you want to enter text. It's very important that we explain this. I think we touched on it briefly in Pages when we described the difference between a word processing and a page layout document. A text box is needed when you have a blank canvas because it's not a word processing document where you can just type and it automatically just adds pages when it needs to and so on. It's not a free-flowing word processing document. It's a blank canvas, and you can literally place objects, photos, videos, web links, shapes, and other things on that canvas when you want to. And so in order to make it possible to enter text, you have to use a text box. And the beautiful thing about that is when you have your text in a text box, you can literally drag that text box anywhere on the slide. You say, well, I don't like it there. I want to move it down below the photo. Well, then do it. Just drag it down below the photo. So that's why we have a text box set up here. And one of the things that folks who use screen readers often get concerned about, with good reason, is the text box too small to accommodate the amount of text that I'm going to be typing? But in a case like this, I don't think that's a concern. Because again, remember what I said earlier and Trainer Cliff said earlier, we don't tell the whole story here. We're writing points and short things. And if it's a template like this, they've already given us a place for a title. So for example,
body, title, presentation title, text box layout item. Actions available. Size 1730.0 points wide, 366.0 points tall. Position horizontally centered, 18.8% from top. You are currently on a layout item inside of a layout area. To add comment, add title, add caption, and deselect all, press Control Option Command Space first to bring up the action menu.
All right, you got a lot of information there. VoiceOver does an absolutely excellent job of telling you the size and the position of the object. In this case, it's the title text box. We also know that there are going to be actions available with the VO command spacebar context option. But let's see what just happens if we just VO space on it.
Edit text.
And what it did
Actions
is it
available.
brought us.
You are currently on a text area inside of a layout item. To deselect all, press Control Option Space.
Okay, it brought us into this edit box where we can type our presentation title. So let's just call it Mac class.
Title cap A C Mac cap S class.
Okay. Now it's important to understand that I can still use all the same navigation commands that I used in Pages, like the arrow keys, or even in Notes or Text Edit or Word, where I use the left and right arrows, the option left and option
Clause.
right.
Mac.
See, I'm moving.
Mac class.
Moving back and forth. I can select by adding the Shift key, and I assume I can VoiceOver jump if I select the words
Mac class selected.
And I can probably do
formatter
this.
Group.
Yep, VOJ to jump over to the formatter. So if I want to format that title now,
style,
and I suspect in Keynote it's already going to be formatted, and I really don't have much I need to do, but let's take a look
text
anyway.
Radio button, 2 of 3. Arrange radio button, 3 of 3.
We're going to choose text.
Radio selected.
And go to the right.
Arrange title button. Style selected. Radio button, 1 of 2. Layout radio button, 2 of 2. Text formatter scroll area.
Now you heard it say title up there. That's because this is the title paragraph style. You remember us talking about paragraph styles? This is already using the title style because it is a title text box. So they've already done the heavy lifting for us. But let's suppose I want to interact with the text formatter here to see what exactly I'm dealing with.
Font. Helvetica Neue, font family, pop bold, font typeface pop-up button, 116 point, contents select.
And that's very, very large because this is going to be used on a projector screen somewhere in theory. And it's 116 point. That's an edit box.
11.5%, 116 point font size stepper.
Or you can use the stepper.
Font style group.
And this is the group.
You are currently
we can change the font style. Won't go into all that right now, but you
show
can.
More text options.
And we can show even more text options. And then
character styles. None button. Text color. Pop-up black 0. Black 0. Horizontal alignment. Indentation level. Group. Vertical alignment.
So if we want to,
Indentation
level, we can go into that, and then you go to the right. Now, we didn't interact with that. You could.
Spacing. Collapsed disclosure triangle. 0.8. Spacing. Pop-up button.
We're looking at margins
Spacing.
here.
Bullets and lists. Collapse. 0.8. Spacing. Collapse. Vertical alignment. Group.
When you
Indentation level. Vertical alignment. Group.
You could interact with
Spacing. Vertical
alignment.
Vertical alignment. Middle. Unchecked. Check top. Unchecked. Bottom.
Okay. You
Out
could interact
indentation
with
level. Group.
Indentation level.
Increase indent. Increase in. Decrease indent. Decrease in. Out of indent.
And then here you have
spacing. Collapsed disclosure triangle.
A disclosure triangle that says that it is collapsed. Now, sometimes VO space will expand these, and sometimes you need to use VO \. Let's see what it tells us.
Beyond disclosure triangle, inside of a scroll area. To expand or collapse the contents of this item, press Control Option Space. To stop interacting with this scroll area, press Control Option Shift up arrow.
They seem to say VO space is going to work, so let's do it.
Expanded.
Okay, and now we can go to the
spacing. Lines. Line spacing. Pop-up button. 0.8. 7.1% before paragraph. 0% after paragraph.
There's a lot of stuff here you're going to need to play with if you really want to format your text, okay? But we're going to stop interacting a couple of times and go back to the slide layout area because we were nowhere near done.
Out. Formatter. Toolbar. Slide layout area. In slide layout area, body, present title, Mac class, text box layout item.
Okay, it has the words Mac class in it. And remember that there are actions. So I really want us to take a look at what those actions are by doing a VO command space.
Actions menu, 7 items.
I'll go down here, VO down arrow.
Deselect all. Add caption.
So if you want to deselect this, you can do that with the deselect all. We can add a caption.
Add title. Add comment. Edit text. Show menu. Jump to style radio button. 1 of 3. Jump to style radio.
Okay, look at those choices
Show menu.
there. The
edit text.
Edit text if you want to make a change to the text you typed. And let's see what show menu has in it for us.
Menu, 18 items. Show menu title, Mac class, bring to front, send to back. Align objects, submenu.
So this has to do with the text box. Bring it to the front, to the back.
Distribute objects, cut, copy, paste, duplicate, lock, add link, submenu.
If you want to add a link, in your text.
Reapply layout to object. Make editable. Break apart. Dim. Save to my shapes. Dim. Matthew's iPhone. Dimmed. Take photo.
And that's because you can take a
Scan
photo.
Documents. Add sketch.
Using your iPhone or add a sketch from the touch screen.
Sketch.
So those,
add
and
sketch.
I think
Scan
that's
document.
it. So those are the various options that you have in the menu. Now,
closing menu. Title. Mac.
We're going to go over here to the body text, which they said is the subtitle.
Body, presentation subtitle, text box layout.
And VO space on
edit
that.
Text.
And we'll just say all about the Mac.
Subtitle. L. All. The C. Mac.
And again, if we just
edit
VO,
text. Edit text.
If we just VO left and right, we're still going to be in this. But if we want to, what we can do
box layout.
is stop interacting, and it will bring us back here. We just do VO shift up arrow.
Body, all about the Mac, text box layout item.
And now, I didn't try VO shift M. We did the VO command space, but I assume VO shift M is that same menu probably.
Menu, 18 items. Bring to front, send to back, align up.
It's going to be the same option, so we'll hit escape there.
Closing menu.
All right, let's go to the right.
Text box layout item.
There's one more text box here, and it doesn't actually say on this what it is, but I happen to know from the iPad it's where you put the author and date. So if I VO space on
text.
that,
actions available. You are currently on Cap V, MG4, MGV 2000.
All right, so we've stopped interacting. So you have these 3.
Title, Mac class, body, all about the Mac, text, MGV 2024, text box layout.
All right, you've got all those things there. Now, here's where we can start to really kind of get creative. And, maybe we want to add some other things to our slide to make it more exciting. So I think before we do that, we ought to explore the toolbar. So let's stop interacting with this. And remember, we're going to go VO right arrow. And there's the toolbar. Let's see what's on that.
In toolbar, view menu button, group 95%, add slide button.
Oh, that's good to know because we need to know how to add more slides to our presentation. So aren't you glad we looked at the toolbar? There might be a keyboard shortcut, but right now we know it's here in the toolbar anyway.
Play button.
There's how we play our show. Okay, there's the play button so you can play your
Table
slide.
Button.
Your show.
Chart button. Text button. Shape button. Media menu button. Group.
Okay, so what these are these are things that you can insert. Tables, charts. A shape is kind of like clip art. They're basically like animated cartoon images. You can find shapes in a variety of categories, whether it be food, animals, travel, education, all sorts of different ones. Maybe I'll show that to you, but that's the shapes. And here's media.
Comment button.
You can also add a comment.
Share button.
And there's your share button. So we want to share this with somebody either collaboratively so the two of you can work together or in sending a copy. We have that option under the toolbar. I think it's also in the menu bar, but it's definitely in the toolbar.
Format selected radio button.
We've already got format selected.
Animate radio button.
And there's animate. And I'm going to show you what that does too.
Document radio button.
And these are different inspectors that you can choose
Document
to see.
radio.
Okay, so if you hear that word inspector, format, animate, and document are all inspectors that allow you to go deeply into something. And that's an important term on the Mac. So let's go back.
Share button.
And let me show you first the media
Comment
options.
button. Media menu button. Group.
VO space.
Menu 11.
And you can see what kinds of media we can insert into our slideshow.
Photos or videos ellipsis. Music ellipsis. Image gallery. Web video ellipsis. Record audio. Live video. Choose ellipsis. Matthew's iPhone, dimmed. Take photo, dimmed. Scan documents, add sketch, dimmed. Add sketch, dimmed.
All right. So let me just explain what a few of these are. Most of them, I think, are self-explanatory, photos and videos. You can look at your library. You can add music. The music that you add when you do it that way is going to come from the Apple Music app, but it must be music that you've actually purchased. It cannot be streaming music from Apple Music. And that's also true of any other streaming service, whether it's Apple Music or Amazon Music or YouTube Music or Spotify, any of them. They're all not going to be able to be inserted elsewhere because they're all copy protected. So it would have to be music that you purchase or you get from a CD or something. And then you saw that we could insert from, so we could insert from a file. Maybe you've got an MP3 or some other kind of file just sitting on your, either in iCloud or on your drive somewhere. And, you could insert a file of a variety of sorts, a video file. You could insert an audio track, whatever it may be. That's just the insert from. You also heard live video. So you can actually use your camera while you're giving a presentation and it will show to everybody what your live video is. I think we had web video, which allows you to paste a link to a YouTube video, for example, or other online video services. And then you also heard my iPhone listed there with the options of taking a picture, drawing a sketch, or scanning a document. Again, that will use the cameras on my iPhone. So there's a lot of options here under media, and we could certainly look at those if I wanted, let's
media menu button, menu, photos or music, image gallery, web video ellipsis.
Oh, an image gallery, that's cool too, because you can put a whole series of images together as one object. You can VoiceOver label your images so it will read to you what each image is. It's really, really powerful.
Record audio.
You can record audio.
Live video, choose ellipsis.
I'm going to say choose. That's the insert from option. I misspoke. Insert from is how they say it on the iPad, but it's choose. It's the same thing. And if I do that,
open dialog icon view collection.
It's going to let me pick
vertical
where I'm.
Sidebar table.
Let's look at this sidebar.
Table. iCloud Drive. iCloud image. Out of sidebar table.
Go over to the
Vertical
the edit, the
icon view
collection.
Keynote pages fold audio Logic Pro for downloads numbers full attachments and audio files full.
I want to find something royalty free that isn't going to get us in trouble with copyright. What I want us to do is go back to this. I want us to stop interacting with the toolbar.
Out of toolbar.
Remember, we were in a toolbar. I want us to go
Book
back.
music ending 4:10:21, 8:29 p.m. Audio layout item.
Look, it's right
Body,
there.
all about the Mac.
Remember, there's our
Title,
slides.
Mac class. Body. All book music ending 4:10:21, 8:29 p.m.
And I would think if I press, okay, you could hear that. Hopefully, I think on the recording, you can hear that. So that is how easy it is to insert something. And I'm going to also show you how easy it is to animate this slide now, because one of the things we can do is add transition effects. So we're going to stop interacting and go back to the toolbar again.
Out of slide toolbar.
And I'm going to find the inspector area.
9 adds play table chart but text but shape button.
You can
media,
also find that
comment.
option to add media or add a file to your Keynote presentation under the insert menu, which is, you know, in the file. What is it? File, edit, and then the next
file,
one is
edit, insert. Yes, exactly. And we didn't even do the menu bar yet, but you're right. That has a lot of the similar options in it. Yes. And so that's a great point. Now this inspector for
Share
animate.
button format. Select animate radio button selected.
Once that is
Show
selected,
or hide
I
animation
stop.
options.
Okay.
You are currently on a select.
Nah, I stop interacting with this toolbar
Out of
here,
toolbar.
and I go to the right.
Formatter group.
There's the formatter.
Toolbar.
We'll go back to the
Slide
left.
layout vertical split slide navigator table edited dimmed menu button M dash. Mac Keynote test full screen button.
Okay, so we're not
edited
seeing it
slide
there.
navigate vertical.
So what we're going to
Book
do.
music ending 4:10 MGV 2020 MGV 2000 out of slide toolbar. In tool
Back in this toolbar.
Document radio animate selected radio button.
And animate is selected. Now listen.
Group.
It still calls it formatter, but I want to show you when we interact with this.
Group built in selected.
It's not the same formatter we knew before. Before it was the formatter for our text. Now it's the formatter for the animations. You have built in
selected radio button 1 of 3 action radio button 2 of 3 build out radio button.
Action and build out. So let's say we want to do a build in for this slide.
No build in effect. Add an effect button. Build in formatter empty scroll area.
And it's empty because there's nothing. So let's say
add an effect in scroll area. 44 items not appear and move. Appear toggle button blur toggle but compress dissolve drift toggle drift and scale drop toggle button.
Let's just do drop.
Add an effect but Mac Keynote test window.
And I VO spaced on
action
that. Now
radio but build drop. Change button.
You can
preview
change it.
Button. Build in formatter scroll area.
And now the formatter.
Duration 16.9%. Duration 1 second. Contents selected. Duration edit 16.9 in slot 22.3 26 32.2 out of 2.75 seconds.
That's almost 3 seconds.
6.9%. Step text animation. By object pop-up order 2 pop-up button.
And I'm not going to get into this extensively, but sometimes you have to change the order of these things where it fits into the sequence if you have a lot of objects in your slide and so forth.
Delivery. All at once. Pop-up button.
And that would be interesting to
Menu
look at.
for by paragraph group, by highlighted paragraph, by highlight.
See, so you can actually change the way text
Closing
appears.
menu, all at once.
Now we're going to stop.
Build in formatter, build order button.
There's our build order, which again, I don't want to mess with, but if we had more stuff in here, we might need to.
Build in.
I think that's all you got to do. Just stop interacting with that. And you know now that this slideshow should play the way that we've set it up to play. But before it does, I want to create one more slide so you can see how that process goes. Remember that the add slide button was in the toolbar.
In toolbar. View menu 95 add slide button. 2 items. Add to slide.
VO space. Now, once you VO space, you're going to choose the kind of slide.
Area.
We interact with the scroll area.
17 items. Title button. Title and photo button. Title and photo alt button. Title and bullets button.
We're just going to do title and bullets. Keep it real simple. VO space.
Add slide button.
Now, you will notice
Choose
if
a
I
slide.
stop interacting here and I go over to my slide navigator,
Vertical split slide navigator table, row 2 of 2, select.
we now have 2 items
In
in
slide
here.
navigator, slide 1, Mac class, contains builds. Slide 2, text.
And while we're here,
To begin interacting with the contents of this image, press Control, Option, Shift, down arrow. To navigate the cells within a table.
Okay, we can interact
No
with
visible
that,
title to enter.
but we actually can't. But
Menu.
we can VO Shift M on the slide itself, and let's look at
New
those options.
slide. Skip slide. Expand, dimmed. Collapse, dimmed, cut. Copy, paste, delete, duplicate, select all, edit slide layouts ellipsis. Reapply layout to slide. Matthew's iPhone, take photo,
Okay.
scan, add sketch.
All the same stuff, but additional things as well. So if you need to delete the slide, again, that's VO Shift M when you have it highlighted. We're on the correct
slide
one.
2,
And so we'll
out
go
of
over
vertical
here.
slide layout area. Title, slide title, text box
We have a title text box.
layout item. Body, slide bullet text box.
There's the bullet
Body,
text.
title,
So
slide title.
the title, or let's just say Mac apps I
Edit
like.
text.
Or actually, no, that would be a subtitle. Let's just call my favorites or my
Titles,
faves.
my, KS. Faves.
Now we'll stop
Text
interacting.
box layout item.
And here's the
Edit
subtitle.
text.
VO space.
Mac, cap P, app, cap I, cap L, E. Like,
Let's stop.
Mac apps I like, title, my faves, Mac apps I like, tech.
And here's our body,
slide bullet text.
which is our bullet text. So if I
Edit
VO
text.
space, we ought to be able to press return after each bullet. So Mac apps I like. Well, why not
Body
Keynote?
entered list, cap K, E, Y, L, E. Keynote.
And press return.
New line, new list item.
And you heard it made a new list item, and we'll say pages.
Bullet, H-E-S. Pages.
And we'll just do one more for now. There's a bunch, but let's just
New
do
line.
one more. Return.
New list item.
And we'll just say GarageBand.
R-A-R-H-E-K-A-N-D.
We'll stop
GarageBand.
interacting. But before we stop interacting, I want to show you that if I use the up arrow.
Bullet. Pages. Bullet. Keynote. Bullet.
Down arrow.
Pages. Bullet. GarageBand.
So it confirms for me very nicely, praise God, that these are bullets. I can stop interacting. And my mission has been accomplished. Now, if we want to play this thing, let's go back to the
title.
first slide.
My title. Out of slide. Slide now. In slide 1. Mac class.
So over
slide.
here
Toolbar. In tool. Add slide. Button. Play. Button.
is our play button with VO
Play
space.
to Mac class. Keynote has
Now,
new window.
It is showing the
You are
it
currently
says
on a
Mac
text
class.
element.
And let's just look around the screen here. I'm giving this
All
presentation,
about
but
the Mac.
it says all about
Book
the Mac.
music ending 4/10/20 MGV
Now,
2000 MGV 2000.
It's all there, but I think on the Mac, what I need to do is press the space bar to advance from build to build.
Slide 1. Mac class. Slide Mac apps I like.
And I press the space bar again, and it moved on to the next
My
slide.
faves.
And if I'm not sure of what's there and I'm giving a presentation, I can VO left and VO right to
Mac
check it
apps
out.
I like.
And I can say, oh, yeah, this slide is about the Mac apps I like. Well, I'd like to tell you about the Mac apps that I like. We're going to talk about 3 today. First off, I really like Keynote. It's way better than PowerPoint, and it is fully accessible, and it allows me to do all kinds of cool things. And the second Mac app I like is, and then I'm just drawing a blank, and I say, well, what do I do? How do I find out? Well, just use your VO
Entered
right
left
arrows.
bullet. Keynote. Bullet. Pages. Bullet. GarageBand.
Oh, yeah. So Pages. I really like Pages, and then you just talk about that. And when you're all finished, you can escape to get out of the slideshow anytime, or you can
Mac Keynote test window.
just press the space bar again, because it will continue to advance from build to build and from object to object and from slide to slide until you get to the end. If you want to get out of it sooner, you can press escape. Now, the other thing
Slide
we have
navigator.
that I just want to show you is I didn't show you the share menu, and I want to do that briefly.
Shape button.
And then I know. Yeah.
Shape.
I do want to show you shapes. I told you we would briefly. So let me just show you a shape here.
4 items. Search text field. Pen tool button.
Now you can search for
Table,
shapes.
row 1 of 16. Base.
If you interact with this
Basic.
table,
Geometry, objects, animals, nature, food.
look at all those different, and there's way more. But let's just say I chose animals. Now, if I VO
Out
shift
of
up
table,
arrow,
collection.
go to the right to the collection and interact.
Geometry, objects, section, objects, animals, nature.
Okay.
Nature, leaf,
Animals.
I was kind of interested in that.
Looks
geometry.
like what I needed.
What was I going to do? Show you some math symbols?
It probably
leaf,
does.
Button, leaf, button.
I'll go
Plant,
back and
cactus, button. Out of food.
Somehow.
Empty. Nature.
Okay.
Animals. Section.
Let's
Objects.
look at,
section. Geometry.
geometry.
In section. 17 items. Geometry. Text. Trapezoid. Button. Parallelogram. Rhombus. Button. Terminator. Cylinder. Cube. Button. Cuboid. Button.
Yep, look at all those. You actually have geometry shapes. So all of these, and you can VO space on any of these that you want, and it inserts them as an object into your Keynote. I'll stop interacting
Press
there.
escape key to exit popover. Slide. Layout area.
Okay, there we go. Good hint. All right, praise God. I want to show you share, and I want to show you the menu bar. Let's go to the share in the toolbar.
Chart. Text. Shape. Meet. Comment. Share. Button.
Just so you can hear these options.
19 items. Image. Mac Keynote test. Keynote presentation. Middle. 2.6 megabytes. Collaborate. Pop-up button.
It's already set to collaborate, so that means that if I want to work with somebody in real time or whenever we want together, I can just leave that on collaborate. If I want to send them a copy, I can VO space on that to change it. But this is how we collaborate.
Only invited people can edit. Button.
That's a button you can change. You can decide, can anybody look at this or just the invited people? And can anybody edit it or is it read only? And if you are doing anyone with a link instead of only invited people, then it's going to give you a web link. And I highly encourage you then to disable editing for your participants because anybody might be able to edit.
Cliff. Button. Carson Vol. Molly Fate. Jessica Vol. Airdrop. Mail.
All these different ways I can share this. Sharing suggestions. And here's a share sheet with
messages.
Mail,
Notes.
messages.
Invite with link. Freeform. Simulator. Button. Link. Shortcuts. Button. Export and send. Button.
Now, export and send is going to give me options to export this to other formats, and I don't believe that's the only place that we're going to find that. So I'm going to save that for the menu bar. So let's hit
Share
escape
button.
here. Okay. The one other thing that I think we ought to do before I want to ask Trainer Cliff to share something too in a minute, but I think the one other thing for us to do here is to go ahead and take a look at the menu bar. Again, remember fundamentals, predictable patterns. What's the first menu in a Macintosh menu bar, no matter what app? Because we're going to ask you that trivia question. What is always the first menu in a menu bar on the Mac? We'll give you a few seconds. And time. And if you said it's the Apple menu, you are absolutely correct. Apple, and then the next one over is always the application name. So in this case, it's the Keynote menu. So I'm going to VOM, and we're going to skip over
Apple,
those two.
Keynote, menu, file, menu.
And almost always, the file menu is third. Almost always. Very rarely will you ever see an exception to that one, too. And so you have file, and let's look at what's
New
in
ellipsis,
here.
Command N.
All right, you can create a new presentation
Open
with Command
ellipsis,
N.
Command O.
Open an existing presentation with
Open
Command
recent,
O.
submenu.
Nice submenu of your recent presentation.
Close, Command W.
Typical.
Save, Command S. Save as ellipsis. Duplicate, Command Shift S. Rename ellipsis. Move to ellipsis. Revert to, share ellipsis.
And here you have share.
Activity settings ellipsis, dimmed.
And probably
Share, edit, menu, undo typing, file, menu, new, save as rename, move, revert to, share ellipsis.
That a minute and see.
Closing, collab.
It's probably the same
19
thing.
item, Mac Keynote present, collaborate.
Yep, it's exactly the same. So
Share
we'll
button.
escape out of that. Okay, it's the same thing. All right.
Apple Keynote file, new.
What else?
Export to, submenu.
Export to. Now, this is interesting. I'm going to have Trainer Cliff take the floor in a moment or two and talk about how he uses this. But let me just show you these options under export
to, submenu. 7 items PDF ellipsis. PowerPoint ellipsis. Movie ellipsis.
Movie.
Animated GIF ellipsis.
Animated GIF.
Images ellipsis. HTML ellipsis. Keynote 09 ellipsis. Keynote
Look at
09.
all of those export options if you want to get this out some other way. And now we're going to
File menu.
VO left arrow to get out of that, and then
Reduce file size. Advanced submenu.
not going to really
Set password ellipsis.
mess with those, I don't think.
Advanced sub language and language and change file
okay,
menu.
so we're not going to mess with that. But over here,
Set password.
We also have our edit
menu 20.
Okay, just like you'd expect. I'm not going to go through that right now. You can take a look at these on your own time. But
insert menu 17 items.
What can we insert?
Line break dimmed. Column break dimmed. Table submenu chart text box. Shape line sub highlight comment command shift K image gallery. Web video ellipsis live video. Import from iPhone submenu record audio. Formula, submenu, equation ellipsis, choose ellipsis, command shift choose ellipsis.
A lot of the same options and even more options than we had before.
Slide menu.
There's a slide menu up in the menu bar.
New slide command shift N.
And there is a keyboard command for a new slide. It's command shift N to insert a new slide. So that's the way you do that also. So we know there's a couple of different ways. It's in the toolbar, it's in the menu bar under slide, and it's command shift N.
Skip slide command shift H. Expand, dimmed. Expand all, dimmed. Collapse, collapse all. Show slide numbers on all slide. Copy guides, paste guides.
Okay.
Go to.
Not going to do all of that right now, but I just wanted to point out that that's something there.
Go to submenu. 5 items. First slide. Last slide. Slide ellipsis command.
So you get the idea. You can enter a number.
Slide ellipsis command. Slide. Right. Go to sub.
Let's
paste
go.
Guides. Dimmed. Format menu.
Format has a whole bunch.
Font, text, table, chart, shapes and lines, submenu, image, submenu,
These are all submenus.
Movie, submenu, copy style, dim command option C.
All right, you can play with the format menu more on your own time.
Arrange menu 12.
We're not going to look at arrange.
View menu 28.
View,
play menu not.
And the play menu. There's actually a play menu in the menu bar.
Play slideshow command option P.
Learned another keyboard shortcut.
Play recorded slideshow dimmed. Check mark in full screen. In window. Record slideshow ellipsis. Clear recording ellipsis. Rehearse slideshow. Show presenter display in window. Dimmed. Customize presenter display ellipsis. Customize present.
And then
window menu.
That is it. And then there's the window.
Closing menu. Share button.
Menu. Now, what I want to ask Trainer Cliff if he'll tell you about is that, so I've shown you a very basic way to animate and to create and add slides and so on. But what we didn't tell you is that we often use Keynote for something that you probably have come to look forward to if you are a student or a customer of TTJ or Stir It Up or both. And I normally do it on the iPad and it works great, but I want Trainer Cliff to tell you because he does it on the Mac. So would you share with them, Cliff, how you use Keynote on the Mac almost every day?
Correct. That's how I get our audio recordings from the podcast up on YouTube for people who prefer YouTube. So you would go into the file menu and you would go to export, and one of the options is make export to movie. And what it does is it puts the slide, whatever image you have, and I usually put the TTJ logo or the not Mac for the Blind, the more with the Mac logo, depending on what class it is. And I even do it for John Panarese over at Mac for the Blind. I put his logo when it's his presentation. I put that in a slide, and I also put the title, whether it's, iPad for all computing, more with the Mac, or Mac for the Blind, and then the subtitle goes into the same slide on a subtitle page, and it's the actual title of the episode. So if it's iPad for all computing session number 21 as I produce today, it will go in that slide. So, and then what I do is go to the insert menu and said it'll say choose. It'll give you a bunch of choices, but then it'll say select one because audio is not actually a choice. So you just go grab that file, MP3, M4A, whatever kind of file, except for video, because you don't want it to be huge. And you take that file and you add it to the slide. And what happens is when you export it to a movie, it puts the logo as a video. It doesn't move or anything, but it appears to be a video to YouTube. Therefore, when you play that video slash audio file that's in the slide on the YouTube, it plays it and it shows that logo along with the text that I put into the slide while the video is playing. So if you are sighted, you will be able to see that. But that's how I do it on the iPad or on the Mac, and Trainer Matt does it on the iPad. And it's a great feature because there's another thing you can do. So I don't have to create a presentation each time. I have the TTJ, Stir It Up, and Mac for the Blind presentations. I have them locked. So when I go to create a new presentation with a new audio file, it asks me if I want to duplicate or unlock. I always hit duplicate because I can just rename it later before it goes up on YouTube. That way I don't have to create the presentation or the slide, for lack of a better term, each time that I want to, turn it into a movie and put it up on YouTube for whoever subscribed to our YouTube channels to listen to. So, I mean, it has a lot of great features. I probably don't even use half of them. I just use it for the fact that I can use an audio file and turn it into a video, and I don't have to worry about going into a complicated app, which is accessible, but it is a little cumbersome and has bigger files, which will be Final Cut Pro. Or I don't have to. There used to be this service I used to use called Tunes to Tube, which would actually do it for you, but that was a yearly subscription. But once Trainer Matt taught Keynote a couple of years ago, I tried it, mastered the way that I get the videos up on YouTube, and now it takes me less than 30 seconds to do it. I mean, I have the longest process is waiting for the movie to be exported to a movie, and depending on how long the audio file is or how much animation or detail you have in the slide, it usually takes maybe a minute, maybe 3 minutes. It just depends. The longest I've ever waited is 3 minutes, and it's ready. And then uploading it to YouTube, titling it, tagging it, putting it on a playlist, all that is elementary. So that's how I do it with our class audio from all the classes, which would be VoiceOver in and out in the fall, Mac more with the Mac in January and February, and now the current running iPad for All computing class that will end in a couple of weeks. Not too late to subscribe to the podcast or the YouTube channels on either Stir It Up or TTJ Talk and get caught up and join us for our last few classes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I do very much do the same thing on the iPad. And on the iPad, I don't even lock it. What I do is I just keep the same file and just change the dates and the names. Instead of session 3, I'll say session 4 or whatever, and then I just delete the audio that I have in there and add another one. But I mean, again, there's so many ways you can do this, and it syncs across all these devices. So it's really, really a powerful thing. And I think that's it, right? Is there anything else that we need to go over with this? I think that's it. So
yeah, that is about it. I mean, the only thing that I would recommend if you're gonna do something on the Mac, I mean, you can do what Trainer Matt does, or you can do what I do. I mean, personal preference, like we always say. So if you want to lock your presentations, and so you don't have to create them each time, or you can just go back to the same project and just change the name and insert that audio file. You can do it either way. That is pretty much it. I mean, it's a powerful app. It can do a whole lot more than what we demonstrated, but that's one of those things that we talk about, the predictable patterns, the menus being the same, being able to find the information, knowing where to look for it, going into the help, seeing what's new. I mean, Apple changes stuff all the time, and they move stuff around, and they add features without telling you. So, you'd be surprised on what you can find in these menus, especially in the help section.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Now, God bless you, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for joining today's session. Didn't get your question answered? Want paid one-on-one training? Email us at support@ttjtech.biz or support@stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U. That's STURITUP.com. I'm Trainer Cliff. Thanks for joining us. God bless. See you next time.